Welcome back to Tough Men of Faith.
Talking about tans.
Yeah, dude, I need a tan.
Do you?
Tan.
We're middle of winter
this
here,
weather?
Midwest.
Yeah, we need to go get sunburned somewhere.
Let's go.
Yeah, let's go.
Maybe some fishing involved.
Yeah, let's go to the Keys, baby.
I don't know. You're trying to get me to go out west, right? Isn't that
Yeah,
what
we
you said the other
gotta
day?
do a hunting trip.
Some antelope. Where
Yeah.
are you wanting to hunt?
Pronghorn antelope. If we have any listeners that know anything about that or a good outfitter,
Elk. I think elk's what we want to do.
man, I hear you, and I agree. But elk tags are crazy.
Yeah.
And then, so I learned this the other day that elk hunting, they do bow hunting through the rut of elk. So when they're trying to breed and not thinking about anything but breeding and eating is bow season. And I'm not great with the bow.
Yeah.
And then after that's over, then gun season comes in, and that's when they're kind of laying low and not going crazy anymore. So I think I need to get proficient with the bow.
With the bow.
For elk hunting.
Yeah.
And I need to get really proficient for antelope hunting. 'Cause I think they say closest shot with those is like 300 yards.
Oh, okay. And you got to be in decent shape too, right?
Yeah, it's a lot of,
you're going to be in the altitude.
It's a lot of physical, a lot of hiking, walking.
Yeah. For days.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and eating whatever's on your back.
Yeah.
Right. So, yeah.
All those MREs you gave me.
You can take those along.
I'll be using those.
Yeah. I'm ready.
I am too, but I'm also ready to go south and do some fishing.
Someplace warm.
So,
yeah.
you know, I like fishing where the teeth have fish.
Where the fish have teeth. Yeah.
I like fishing where the fish have teeth.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
Do you fish around here much?
No, not really.
Yeah.
I don't think freshwater fish taste great.
Okay.
Saltwater fish taste amazing for some reason. So.
Yeah.
Yep.
Did you ever eat all those fish we caught?
Yep, they're gone.
Really?
Yeah. Yep. So no thanks to you.
Yeah, I know. I don't know what happened. I never made it over
either.
eat them. I mean, I caught them for you, but
Yeah, you did. You did a great job. So anyway, we need to restock the freezer.
we do.
Anyway.
We do both ways.
Yeah.
With some elk and
Yeah, some antelope
antelope.
and.
Did you get a deer this year?
We could probably kill an elk, right? I haven't been back out. I went out for one weekend.
Sore subject.
Not really. I just didn't go back.
Yeah.
You know, life got in the way again.
Do you watch too many reels or something when you're sitting there in the woods? Like, what are you doing?
I watch deer and animals all day long. So here's the deal: the place where I hunt at, my friend has rules on what you're allowed to shoot and what you're not allowed to shoot.
Yeah.
It has to be a certain size buck, certain number of points, and the spread and everything. And then he's like, you can shoot one mature doe. And I just didn't see any like big mature does.
Yeah.
But I watched 50 tiny baby deer. So it was fun, but it's kind of hard hunting with rules, but at the same time, I understand why he does
Yeah.
it. He's trying to grow the deer on his farm, and he's got a big farm, so hopefully his deer stay close by, and he can only shoot big ones every year.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Let's jump into this.
Yeah, you ready?
Well, I mean, we're going to talk about stress today, so I think
that's what we're going to talk about.
But then we got
my deer hunting is stressful.
Make sure you sign up if you haven't yet for the night at the barn.
Night at the barn.
April 25th.
April 25th.
You don't want to miss it.
Nick's anniversary.
It is Nick's anniversary. That's not your actual anniversary.
It's not, but it's right around there. So.
Yeah.
And then we'll be doing a mission statement.
Yeah, we're going to be working on mission statements.
Personal mission statement.
Yeah, it's just going to be a fun
good
night.
Yep.
Yeah, it's
not going to be a boring mission statement night.
And it's so much fun out there because you just step out of the city and kind of reality,
and
and
it
feels like the middle of
close to
nowhere.
the city.
Yeah, it's only 40 minutes from Indy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so it's
just a nice, quick getaway, and it's like you step into a different world.
It is, yeah. Then check out Increase Jesus.
Yep.
Appreciate them sponsoring us.
Yeah, use the code TOUGH-10. They got some good shirts, some merch, they got all kinds of stuff.
They do.
So anyway, that's
all right.
Awesome.
We're in this season 7, looking at 20 different things that the men should work on.
Yep.
It's been good. First 6 episodes.
Yeah, I agree.
We're episode 6 now. We've been 5 episodes.
It feels like 6.
It feels like 6. Going forward, we're going to have a lot of guests with us the second half of the season, which I'm really excited about.
Yep.
But today we're looking at, I don't know if we've ever looked at this topic specifically.
Yeah, I don't know if it's this one specifically, but
but own your stress.
Yeah.
That's kind of where we're going with it.
Yep.
You ever get stressed out?
I do, yeah. Yeah, I'm happily married. I get stressed out.
You need to be careful.
I am being careful. My wife listens to all these, and
she does.
I don't know why. I guess for more dirt, so I can be in trouble.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Stress is interesting, like for us as men to really dive into.
The way we process stress is interesting. Mm-hmm. I often find myself when I am stressed that I start shutting out different parts of my life.
Yeah.
And when that happens, it usually takes someone like my wife or a good friend of mine to say, "Hey, what's going on?"
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I think the scripture you'll find us going back to is the same one we looked at last week in 1 Peter 5, 6
Yep.
and 7 there. Cast your anxiety, your cares, your stress
Right.
on God, for
Right.
he cares for you, but humble yourself under God. So, right, I think
Yeah.
that's,
Well, I think like you said, the first part.
yeah,
You have to be humbled
yeah. So
humbled under God.
that's
First.
the core
You
of
have to
like
put
where,
your faith and your trust in Him.
yeah, definitely. So that's the core, right?
Yep.
The gospel, that's where you
Yep.
got to do it. But when it comes to the practical side of stress, like as men, we definitely struggle with it.
Oh yeah. Well, it's unavoidable. I mean, there's going to be things that come up in life that that just happen, and it's all in the way that you deal with it. But I'll be the first to admit I don't always deal with it properly.
Yeah.
And I just I think you and I we were talking about it earlier a little bit, but it's like that stress doesn't have to define us, and we don't have to let it define us.
Yeah. And I think for me, the struggle of stress has been is and you kind of alluded to this at the beginning, is I don't realize how much I'm struggling with it at times.
Right.
So I think as men, we get all these external pressures
Yep.
coming on us at your work, with your family, at your finances. You're
Right.
trying to do all these things,
Yeah.
and you're feeling it at times, like the weight of the world on your shoulders. When
Yep.
it's not, but
Right.
it feels like it.
But it feels like it.
And then you get stressed, and then you get tunnel vision, like,
Yep.
I'm going to fix all this. I'm going to fix it all myself.
Right.
And then you kind of cut out your friends,
Well, yeah,
your
you start cutting out
spouse,
your spouse and your family, and
then it
cut
causes
things
more
out.
stress
Right.
because you're trying to do it yourself.
Right.
And then I think, at least for me, I get to the place where I don't even realize how stressed I am. And
Yep.
then I'll have people say things to me like,
hey, what's
hey,
going on
are you
with
doing
you?
all right? And like people who maybe aren't even like seeing what's going on in my life, they just look at my face and be
Yeah.
like, man, you don't look like you're doing so well.
Right.
Because I just wear it on my
Yeah.
face.
Oh yeah,
And
having
I
them
think,
bags under your eyes.
Yeah.
They're telling a different story.
yeah. And so that I'm tired, usually like physically tired because
Yep.
you're working harder, you're not sleeping as much, the stress is keeping you up.
Right.
And as a couple of weeks ago, we talked about men being the emotional leaders in the house.
Yeah.
If I'm coming into the house stressed out every day,
Right.
that's going to trickle over.
Yeah,
right?
I'm casting that onto my family.
I am. They're going to be more stressed.
Yeah, they're
If
gonna
I
start
walk
feeling
in,
it.
I have felt that like on vacations is where I see it the most.
Yeah.
So growing up, I remember my parents always had like the maps.
Okay.
You remember like they'd be in your
Oh, yeah.
glove box,
Glove
you
box.
get a map out, you try to
Yep.
figure out where you're going,
Try to figure out where you're at.
try to figure out where you're at. And I remember my mom would be in the front seat and my dad would try to get the map. And my dad's stress level, depend on where that was at with the map,
Yeah.
depend on where the rest of the family's stress level was at.
Okay.
If we were lost and he's like, we're going to get there.
Yeah.
If we were lost and my mom's trying to look at the map and he's stressed, she's more stressed. We're in the back seat stressed.
Yep.
And so this kind of raises that temperature. Whereas men, if we find a way to bring that down, the whole family feels more at ease.
Exactly.
Or I think even depend on your workplace, if you're a boss, like if I walk into my place where I have employees and if I come in stressed out in the morning, I can just feel the tension.
Absolutely.
It
Yeah.
is
You can almost
coming up.
Cut the tension.
Right. And it's on me.
Right.
Right. And you've worked probably for people like that.
Oh yeah,
right?
absolutely.
So
yeah, you feel it when other people come in stressed out, and
yeah.
it's like, hey, can we do anything to help relieve some of that so
Yeah.
we can make this a better day?
Right. Then you usually snap at them because you're
Yeah.
stressed.
Exactly.
And everyone's stressed, and it's just a snowball effect that keeps
Yeah.
happening. So, yeah, I think when it comes to stress, is realizing you have it. Meditate on 1 Peter, but then there's some practical things I think that we need to look at
Yeah.
that we can do for stress.
Thinking about what you were talking about, some of the best times I've ever had are getting lost driving.
Yeah.
Just if it's a road trip or something, whatever you're doing, it's just I've had so much more fun just seeing where the road takes you
Yeah.
versus looking at the map.
Doesn't really happen much anymore though. GPS, right?
I like to turn it off.
Do you?
Yeah.
Let's drive.
Me and Rachel, we did that like a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
We just took a trip and we headed south. We
Yeah.
knew we had a destination and we get there in 4 or 5 days. And
Really?
We just had a blast getting there.
Man,
So
I'm wired in such a way that's like
you can't do it.
I'm going to go from this point to this point. I'm going to find the best
No
route.
way.
I'm going to get there as quickly as
Yeah.
possible. We're going to make as few stops as possible.
Okay.
I'm going to have the GPS on in case there's any traffic, and I'm going to go around the side road.
Gotcha.
I do that. In,
That was the one thing that we
city.
did when we did that trip was not to take the highways,
Okay.
not to take the major highways like
Yeah.
the interstates.
Yeah,
2-lane highways or whatever was fine, but yeah, we had an absolute blast going from here to Panhandle of Florida in 4
Yeah.
or 5 days. It should have took 12 hours.
Right.
So
Yeah.
anyway,
All right. So let's look at how do you handle stress, right? So what's some things, maybe some practical
just
things?
fly off the handle.
Fly off the handle, and you feel better afterwards.
That's right.
Is that it?
Everything works out.
I think one is prioritizing rest
Yeah.
or like a Sabbath. And I know we've talked about this a little bit in the
Yep,
past.
we have.
But when the stress comes, we usually sleep less.
Right.
We work more to make up for the things that's stressing us out. So I'm going to
Yep.
work Saturday. I'm going to work Sunday. I'm going to work extra to try to make up for this.
Yeah.
When the opposite of that probably needs to happen.
Exactly. Yeah,
You
we
need to take some time.
take some time off, take a rest, take a break,
Yeah.
and kind of refocus your energy
Yeah.
and your head on where it's at.
Yeah. Well, I think that rest, maybe some exercise.
Yeah.
Right. So that a lot of times you push that off, like when you're stressed.
Absolutely.
And that exercise helps. I mean, we just
Yep.
talked about my life. I went through a couple weeks of a pretty stressful time.
Yeah.
And I was telling you, it almost gets worse because
Right.
I'm busy, so I'm eating fast food every
Yeah,
day.
you're eating crap.
And then
You're
I'm
not
not
working
working
out.
out. I'm not sleeping much.
Yep. You're
And
out of
so
your normal schedule.
the stress just keeps building.
Right.
Where what I need to do is like take some time,
Yeah.
eat some healthy meals,
Right.
take some time off, get back in the gym.
Yeah. Exactly.
Those type of things.
Yeah.
It helps you manage stress.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Find a way to take out that aggression and that extra the stress that you're feeling.
Yeah.
Like you said, you go to the gym to do that,
Yeah.
and that's a great spot.
Yeah, for
to,
me, it's if I find myself getting too stressed, like the exercise I need that helps me is I just have to go walk in the woods.
Okay.
So I do like the rucking we've talked
Yeah.
about. So if I get out once a week and I don't take my phone, I don't
Right.
wear my watch that tracks everything.
Yeah.
I load up my backpack for about 25 pounds
Yeah.
and I just leave for about 4 or 5 hours.
Okay.
And I live in the city, so I just find woods to walk through.
Right.
I don't,
Yeah.
It's not I don't know if it's dangerous, but it's,
You know,
I don't know where I'm at, but
Yeah. It's
just,
fine.
just kind of walking.
as long as you head south, I think you're fine. If you go north, you might have issues.
Yeah,
in
I
4 or
do
5
both.
hours. Do you?
Because we're on the south side of the city, right? But sometimes
Yeah.
I'll go north and make it all the way downtown, like walking some of the rivers and
Okay.
stuff. But for
I
me,
bet you meet some interesting people
you
that
do
way.
meet people. You see some camps.
Yeah.
But for me, that's a time that just kind of helps manage my stress.
Okay.
Just being out in nature.
I like it.
But yeah,
You're crazy, but I like it.
yeah, it's. But whatever that is, right?
Yeah.
For some people, I'd probably cause more stress.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. For some.
so rest, Sabbath, working out, that type of
Yeah.
mindset. But then I think the other thing is you've got to have a support system.
Absolutely.
Because we've both said it, like when we're super stressed out, it's usually someone else calling that out in our life.
Oh yeah. Yep. Yeah. Usually, it's good to have a good friend. We talk about battle buddies all the time. Somebody that we can call when things are going awry. Usually, our wives have already noticed it.
Yeah.
Sometimes my wife will call
Yep.
one of my friends and say, or
Yep.
you, and be like,
Yep.
"Hey, can you reach out to Nick? He's struggling right now," and it's generally caused by myself, I'm
Yeah.
guessing. But she notices it, and then she calls in a friend for me when I'm too. I don't know what the word is I'm looking for, but too stupid to do so.
Too stupid.
Yeah,
That
too proud.
works too. Too proud.
Yeah.
Or I think a lot of times it's not that we don't want to. It's that we're so blinded by
Yeah.
it.
Or so
that we're
focused
so
on what we're
focused
stressed
on
on. Yeah.
all this, and we get like if you've ever been like in a dangerous situation, like so one of the things people have trouble with sometimes when they get in those situations is that they're so tunnel vision,
Right.
and that everything's happening around you.
Yep.
And you're
Can't see the
focused
whole
in on this
picture.
one thing.
Right.
And I think that's what happens with us with stress. Is
Yeah.
like we're focused in on this one thing. And the
Right.
rest of our life may be going great.
Right.
Or some other things may be falling apart we should look at. And that mentor, that friend can come in and be like, man, look at all the good things happening in your life.
Yeah.
Or, hey, you really should be focused on this over here
Right.
and not worried about
Yeah.
this.
Yeah. You're putting a whole lot of energy on something here that shouldn't matter as much as it does.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's why it's good to have a battle buddy.
Yeah. So take some rest.
Yep.
Right. Get a battle buddy.
Yep.
Or make sure that
find somebody to help
they're
you kind of
engaged.
walk through it.
I think the other thing is just kind of realizing what's the priorities in your life
Yeah.
too. Like, right. So,
Yep. Yeah. Are you prioritizing everything correctly?
yeah.
I think that's probably the biggest part, actually.
Yeah. Well, in Matthew, it says, seek first the kingdom of God.
Right.
And so a lot of things that stress us out is when we're not seeking first the kingdom of God.
Yep. Exactly.
That I'm seeking first RT's kingdom.
Yeah.
And that's stressing me out because I can't build that in the way I want to.
Yep.
And I'm putting all my time and energy into it. And it's if God is like telling me like, hey, you're seeking the wrong thing.
Right.
The reason you're
Yeah. You're
stressed
putting
out.
the wrong thing at the top of your list.
Yeah.
And it's okay for RT's kingdom to grow, but it doesn't have to be at the top of the list. It
Right.
shouldn't be at the top of the list.
Right. Right. And if you're putting your time and energy into those things instead of
Right.
what God calls us to, like you're not putting your time into your family and your faith community
Yep.
and your job that God's called you to or the ministry.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're going to feel stressed.
Yeah. Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. You're putting your time and energy into the wrong places.
Yeah. So I think you need to focus on
You need to prioritize it.
what your mission statement would help you do that.
It would.
So you should come April 25th
Right.
to help write that. But the other part of that,
Nice
like
plug.
on priorities, right? And so you would get this is that you got to learn to say no.
Yeah.
So some
absolutely.
of what's stressing you out is because you don't know how to say no.
Yep.
Not talking just to you, like me as
No,
well,
I know.
right?
I know what you mean.
I'm trying, like, So one of my goals for this year is learning to say no to stuff.
Right.
And so I've been working on this actually before this year started, but about the last 3 months, this is something Karen's been trying to help me with. I've been trying to say no to stuff.
Okay.
It has been awful.
Really?
Awful. Because I've taken on just some extra work stuff.
Yep.
And so I've decided that there's only a couple things I'm saying yes to this year.
Okay. Nice.
And everything else I'm saying no to.
Okay.
And so there's been a lot of good opportunities that I've said no to this
Yeah.
year, or some people that's needed some help and some things like, man, I'm just not the person.
Yeah, I can't do it right now. It's not for me now.
Yeah. But it is.
Yep.
It has
I
both
agree.
been
Mine
difficult.
always- what's that?
It's
Sorry.
been difficult, but it's
Yep.
also helped me relieve some stress.
I agree.
Today, Karen helped me because we had, there was someone to text me, and she was on the text, asked me to do something.
Okay.
That's something I kind of like to do, but it doesn't really fit in my vision for this year.
Right.
She immediately responded with, "Hey, RT's busy that day." I'd forgotten that I had something. It's
Yeah.
something I could have moved. So
Right.
I probably would have responded like, "Hey, let me see if I can move this around and
Yeah.
make it." And since she responded with that, I was like, this feels good.
Yeah.
Like,
Thanks.
so, yeah.
Thanks, Carol.
It helped with some stress.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Yeah, that's usually where I find most of my stress too, is when I overwork myself.
Yeah.
Because I'm trying to make more money to go do X, Y, and Z, whatever
Yeah.
that is. And Rachel will oftentimes come in and say, look, this is going to cost you.
Yeah.
Are you willing to give this what it's going to cost you?
Mm-hmm.
And is, that amount of money or whatever it is that going to be worth it to you in the end? And
Yeah.
it's nice to have her in the background
Yeah.
saying that kind of thing. Are you
What-
willing to give up
yeah.
the time with me? Are you willing to take on the extra stress and deal with people?
Yep.
And, are you willing to do 12-hour days instead of your normal 8 to 10? And,
Yep.
and it's nice when she kind of puts all that into perspective for me.
Yeah.
Because oftentimes I lose sight of that. And I was like, the money?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? The money's going to be great.
Well, it's not just money. Like, I've watched your life too. Like, and I mean, I know you work and get money, but also I've
Yeah.
watched, because you're talented and gifted in some areas, that people ask you, call in favors for things
Oh,
where
yeah.
it's not going to make you any money at all.
Right.
But just knowing how you're wired, like you're inclined to say yes
Yeah.
because you want to help people.
Yep.
But even saying yes to good things can cause unnecessary stress in your life,
Yeah, exactly.
which distracts you from the mission God has called
yeah,
you
the
to.
things I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so it's hard to say no to some of those
It
things.
is. Yeah.
when
You know.
Oh, yeah, I do.
Yeah. And it's part of it sometimes. But like you said, we have to learn to say no.
Yeah.
And if we can't do it, let's enlist our wives to help us, because they know ultimately the stress that we'll be under in those situations, and what's going to come of after doing that.
Yeah.
The after effects.
Yeah. I've tried to, one of the things I've been learning this year on trying to manage this is even asking some other people to try to get feedback on.
Yeah.
I mean, you even watch it like in the church setting with the board, to even take some things to the board. Like, is this something
Right.
that we should do?
Right.
For me, it's like specifically as a church,
Yeah.
knowing that if we say yes as a church, we're saying I want to commit to this.
Yeah, for sure.
And so trying to, even though I don't like it,
Yeah.
allowing some other guys to speak into
Well,
it.
it's good because they can kind of help you weigh that stuff out.
They can.
And I like that too, is that no today doesn't necessarily mean no forever.
Yeah.
It just means no today, and the timing on my end isn't great for whatever you need help with on your end.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm finding that it doesn't have to be no forever. It just has to be no for right now, because the timing just doesn't work out on my end.
Yeah.
And I find that too, like in the church and the board setting too. No, maybe we don't take on that project this year. Maybe we don't do this with missionaries this year. Maybe we slow it down over here. But it doesn't mean that it's going to be a permanent thing. It's just, let's just shuffle some things around, and we can potentially say yes in the future.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. For me, like I would say for managing stress, the biggest thing is that community around me
Yep.
that's helping me manage it.
For sure.
And not just taking things off my plate,
yeah,
but speaking into,
Yep.
you shouldn't do this.
right.
So it's, we've talked a lot about the iron sharpens iron. Like that's really what makes me sharper
Yep.
to help me manage stress is other people.
Right, I agree.
Because for me, and I don't know if it's that way for everyone, this is an extreme blind spot and
Oh, yeah.
something I really struggle with.
Yeah.
Because I will find myself stressed out and
Yep.
down this rabbit hole.
Yeah, and I'll find myself in situations that I didn't necessarily mean to get into. But like you said earlier, the goodness of my heart sometimes it says, yeah, you can do this. It'll be okay. You can,
Yeah.
You can spend a little time doing this or doing that. And I find myself in a situation,
Yeah.
3 weeks later, it's like, how did I get back into this again?
Right.
I didn't mean to let this happen.
Yeah.
And
When stress it crushes you, right? Like it's like the
It
weight of
it
it
just
pushing
takes
down.
everything from you. Like you said, you sleep less, you eat less, or you're eating bad food, and your rest is gone.
Yeah.
And you're constantly continuously worrying about
Yeah.
what the next step is and what's going to happen next, and
Yeah.
It just milks you dry.
And for me, my spiritual life suffers.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't pray more when I'm stressed.
Right.
I should. But I don't. I find myself trying to fix it more. But
Yep.
when I get back to reality, or I have some friends pointing out to me, hey, are you praying about this? Prayer doesn't take away that storm, what I'm going through,
Right.
but it gives me the peace in the middle of that.
Yeah, the power to kind of
And
get through it.
sometimes it kind of highlights and shows me like, hey, the reason you're stressed is you haven't been dependent on God. The
Right.
reason you're stressed, you're not seeking first the kingdom
Yeah,
of God.
RT's trying to please RT.
Right. Trying to build his own kingdom.
Yep.
Maybe I'm saying yes to everything for people because I want people to think that I'm the savior and I can
Right.
I can do all this.
Yeah.
Right. Versus like, hey, man, I can't.
Yeah,
Right. So
exactly.
yeah, it's a big one to think through as guys.
I agree.
Right.
But like we've said in so many other episodes, is find you a buddy, a battle buddy, a friend. Find you a community of guys that you can lean on and talk to.
Yeah.
And when you kind of step out of the norm of life, maybe you want to take on extra, you want to do extra, you want to help somebody, maybe you run that by somebody. And then look, something else too is look at the other times of the year where a lot of people are stressed. I mean, we just came out of the holiday season. And
Yep.
a lot of people are so focused on the things that they're wanting to do for others, buy for others,
Yeah.
whatever they're wanting to do, that it causes stress
Yeah.
from your normal life, from your normal budget, from your
Yeah.
normal everything.
Yep.
So,
I agree. And I think where we miss out on guys a lot is that we talk about brotherhood and leaning on other guys.
yep,
But we make so many big decisions in our life and we never run it by
exactly.
a group of guys.
Yep.
And even if we run it by them, it's more like, hey, I'm getting ready to take this job.
Yeah.
I'm getting ready to do
Or,
this.
hey, I'm getting ready to do that. Yeah.
There's no like beforehand sitting down like, hey, you know what I'm good at? You
Yeah.
know what I'm bad at? You know where I'm at in life
Right.
financially? You know where my marriage is at? Or I'm
Exactly.
single?
Yeah.
What do you think about
Yeah,
this?
I'm thinking about doing this thing.
Yeah.
What's your opinion on it? And we don't do that.
We don't. I always thought it'd be good to, like, before you make a major career move or some big decisions, like, to sit down with your 4 or 5 closest guys, have them
Yeah.
over for, I don't know, some steaks and
Yeah.
cook for them, and then sit around the fire outside and be like,
Right.
hey, guys, I'm thinking about doing this.
Yep.
Starting this business or going this direction or doing something new. What do you
Yep.
guys think?
Yeah, exactly.
And just open the floor, let them speak into your life.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yep.
it's,
Make sure they're wise counsel.
yeah, you want the right guys at the table.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing, because you want guys that want to see you succeed.
Exactly.
Because I was talking to my girls about this the other day, that there are people who would love, maybe not love, may not be the right word, but like to see people fail.
maybe
Especially
love is the right
driven
word.
people who are leaders.
Yep.
That they can't wait to see him fail.
Yep.
So you've got to have, and I used you as an example. I said, Nick's one, I could call up tomorrow and say, hey, man, I just invested in this stock and it went bananas. And I have $1 million+ now because I invested in it.
Sell it.
and he's going to be pumped for me.
Right.
Right. Or if I call him up and be like, hey, I had this great opportunity. I got this side job and man, or this opportunity to speak in this big conference. And he's
Yep.
going to be really excited for me.
Yep.
Not all people are that way.
Right.
Right. So you need people who are excited for
Yeah,
you,
yeah.
cheering
People that
you
want
on.
to see you grow and
Yeah.
build your kingdom.
Yep.
Those are the ones you want to have in your circle.
Because they're going to give you great advice.
Right.
Right. Or wisdom
Yeah.
on, they know what's best for you. They know what's best for your
And if
family.
not, if they can't give you great advice and they can't give you great wisdom, maybe they're just great cheerleaders.
Yeah.
And they're the kind of guys that just push you
Yep.
to be better.
Yeah. Yeah. I have some of
and
those friends.
I
Like
do
when I
too.
ask them,
Yeah.
they're not smart enough to know.
Exactly.
Right. And they would say it. Like, I don't know anything about this
Yep.
type, but I want you to do well.
Exactly.
And I'm going to cheer you
yeah,
on.
They will push you to be better. And those are great friends to have too.
Yeah.
Um,
They
as,
are.
As long as you run it by your smart friends first to make sure
Yeah.
that you're making a good decision.
Yeah, and I say smart like in certain areas, right? So
Absolutely,
they
yeah.
in another area they may be the wisest person around, but
Yep.
they may have no clue.
On what I'm going through today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So even
I-
like for me, like on some choices I had to make in the military, there's a few friends that like they don't know anything about that world,
Right.
but they want to see me do well.
Exactly. Yep.
So
and,
they,
and those are good guys to have in your corner
They are.
too. So,
yep,
yep. Good guys to help you manage that stress.
it is. Well, this has been good talking about stress.
It
I
has
think
been.
we'll come back to it at some
I
point.
know we'll come back to this again.
Yeah.
I feel like we've touched on it a few times. We just haven't really dove
Yeah.
into it. So,
So this would be a great episode, I think, to share. Like if you know somebody's going through
yeah.
a tough
Anything.
time, getting stressed out, whether they're a
Right.
Christian or not, man,
Yep. Well, like
share
I said,
this
we just
with
came
them.
through the holidays and,
Yeah.
financially, people usually get stressed this time of year. People set big holiday goals on what they're going to do different for their weight. And,
Trying to pay off those credit cards
yeah,
now
exactly.
for Christmas.
But, people are setting goals and some of those goals do cause stress.
Yeah.
And, ask your buddies, how they're doing. Check in on them. And see
Definitely.
what's up and, how can we help you? How can we pray for you?
Yep.
So,
It's been good.
yeah.
See you guys next week.
All right. We should have guests, right?
Yeah, I think we're going to be kicking off some guests next
Awesome.
week.
It's
Yep.
going to be a good time.
All right. See ya.
All right. See ya.